Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd love to know what you think. Every comment helps me make the next story better. Subscribe to stay tuned. The phrase dead weight kept echoing in my mind as I loaded our bags into the SUV, wondering when exactly I became the anchor dragging her down instead of the partner lifting her up. Thursday afternoon rain drummed against the windshield while I triple-checked our luggage. Inside the house, I could hear Jessica laughing on the phone with Trisha. That bright, genuine laughter she used to share with me back when we were a team. Now it belonged to everyone except her husband. "Ready to go?" she called out, appearing in the doorway with her phone still pressed to her ear. Her voice carried that cheerful tone she reserved for other people. I nodded and climbed into the driver's seat. She slid into the passenger side, immediately connecting her phone to the car's speakers. Pop music filled the space before I could suggest we talk during the 3-hour drive to Bolton Landing. "You don't mind, right?" she asked, though her finger was already pressing play. "No, it's fine," I said, pulling out of our driveway. The suburbs disappeared behind us as we merged onto Route 87 North. An hour into the drive, she finally put down her phone. "I planned some activities with Sarah and Keith this weekend. Hiking Saturday morning, kayaking Friday afternoon." "Sounds good. Did you want to?" "I figured you'd just go along with whatever. You always do." The comment landed like it always did. Casual, cutting, accurate. "What if I don't want to go along with something?" I asked, surprising myself. She glanced over, one eyebrow raised. "Then don't." "But you will." She turned back to her phone, dismissing me. I watched the road ahead, the mountains growing larger in the distance. My sister Sarah had been asking me for months if everything was okay. I kept saying yes, we're fine, just busy. But fine had become my default lie. The GPS announced our exit. Lake George appeared through the trees, vast and blue and peaceful. Nothing like the tension filling our car. "There's the turnoff," Jess said, pointing, as if I hadn't been here a dozen times before, as if I needed her navigation. We pulled into the gravel driveway. Sarah stood on the dock, waving. When she caught sight of us, her smile faltered just slightly. She saw too much, my older sister. Always had. "You made it," Sarah called out, walking toward us. She hugged Jess first, then pulled me into a longer embrace. "How was the drive?" "Easy," Jess said brightly. "Andrew's such a good driver. Never complains about doing all the highway miles." Sarah's eyes met mine over Jess's shoulder. Her expression asked the question she couldn't voice. I looked away. That evening, we drove into town for dinner at the Algonquin. The restaurant overlooked the lake, all warm wood and soft lighting. Sarah's husband Keith was already there, having driven up earlier. "So," Keith said after we'd ordered, "what's new with you two?" Jess launched into stories about her work, her friends, her latest hobby. She touched my arm occasionally for emphasis, playing the role of devoted wife. The stories were funny, entertaining, perfectly crafted. They also made me sound like a supporting character in her life. A forgettable one. "Andrew's not really outdoorsy, are you, babe?" she said, laughing. "But he's a good sport about coming up here." "I like it here," I said quietly. "Sure, but you'd rather be inside reading, right? That's more your speed." Sarah's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Keith shifted in his seat. "Actually, I enjoy kayaking," I said. "I always have." Jess waved her hand dismissively. "You know what I mean." Later, walking to the car, Sarah fell into step beside me. "Are you okay? Really?" "We're fine," I said automatically. "Just the usual." The usual seems exhausting. I didn't have an answer for that. Back at the lake house, Jess announced she'd sleep better alone in the guest room. Something about the unfamiliar bed, the sounds of the lake, needing her space. Always needing space from me. I lay awake in the master bedroom, staring at the ceiling. Through the window, I could hear her voice again, low and animated. Another phone call with Trisha. I closed my eyes and tried not to imagine what they were saying about me. Friday morning arrived with birdsong and coffee. I woke early, made a pot, and walked down to the dock. The lake stretched out before me, glass smooth and perfect. This was what I'd missed. Silence that felt like peace instead of punishment. Morning. Jess appeared behind me, already on her phone. "Trisha says hi." Tell her I said hi back. She's giving me some good advice about priorities. You know, life balance stuff. I sipped my coffee, waiting. She says I need to eliminate dead weight from my life. People who drag me down instead of lifting me up. Jess scrolled through her phone, barely looking at me. She's so right. I need to focus on my own energy, you know? Something cold settled in my stomach. Not surprise. Recognition. Makes sense, I said carefully. She didn't seem to notice my tone. So anyway, we're kayaking this afternoon. Don't forget to pack the cooler. I'd already packed it. Last night, after she'd gone to bed. But I just nodded. The afternoon found us on Lake George, heading toward the 100 Island area. Sarah and Keith paddled their single kayaks while Jess and I shared a double. We'd done this before, years ago. Back then, we'd moved in rhythm, laughing when we splashed each other. Now she criticized my paddle angle, my timing, my direction. Let's go the fun way, she announced to the group, pointing toward a more challenging route through narrow channels. The other path is actually easier, I said, and more scenic. This way is better. Trust me. Sarah glanced back at us. I saw her weighing whether to intervene. We took Jess's route. Within 20 minutes, she was complaining about the current, the difficulty, how slowly we were moving. You're slowing us down, she said loud enough for Sarah and Keith to hear. He's just not as athletic as some of us. Jess, maybe ease up? Sarah called out, paddling closer. Oh my God, he's fine. Stop babying him. The words carried across the water. I felt heat crawl up my neck. Not from exertion, from shame. Keith fell back to paddle alongside us. You doing all right, Andrew? Yeah, fine. We finished the route in silence. When we reached the dock, Jess hopped out first. I need a shower, and I promised Trisha I'd call her back. She disappeared inside. Sarah touched my arm. How long has she been like this? I pulled the kayak onto the shore. Long enough that I'm not sure if she changed or if I just stopped noticing. Keith helped me secure the boats. My first marriage ended like this. Different details, same pattern. He paused. I wish I'd left sooner. That evening, I sat with Sarah on the back porch while Jess was in town, supposedly getting groceries. Keith had given us space, understanding what his wife needed to do. When did you start apologizing for existing? Sarah asked. The question hit harder than Jess's kayaking comments. Because it was accurate. I had been apologizing. For years. I don't know. Slowly, then all at once. Tell me what happened. Really happened. So I did. I told her about the friends I'd stopped inviting over because Jess always found reasons to cancel. The date nights I'd stopped planning because she'd agree then back out. The way I started working from home more to avoid her eye rolls about my schedule. The constant feeling that everything I did was wrong, disappointing, inadequate. She makes these comments, I said, about how I'm not ambitious enough, not social enough, not confident enough. And after a while, you start believing it. This is emotional neglect, Andrew. That sounds dramatic. Does it? Or does it sound accurate? Sarah leaned forward. What would you tell a friend in this situation? I stared at the lake, watching the sunset painted orange and gold. I'd tell them they deserve better. And my throat tightened. I deserve better. Yes, you do. I cried then, quietly but steadily. Sarah handed me tissues and waited. No platitudes, no rushing, just presence. Headlights swept across the driveway. Jess was back. She breezed inside, still on the phone, laughing about something. She barely acknowledged us on the porch. Come to our cottage if you need space tonight, Sarah said softly. Keith already made up the guest room, just in case. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Around 10, Jess gestured for me to follow her to the bedroom. She was still on her phone, wrapping up another call with Trisha. Did you have a good night? I asked. Yeah. Trisha and I went to this bar in town. Well, I did. She was on video call the whole time. It was hilarious. She scrolled through photos, not showing me. You were gone for 5 hours. I was worried. Oh my God, I'm not a child. I don't need to check in every 5 minutes. I'm not asking you to check in every 5 minutes. I'm saying I noticed you were gone a long time. Because I care. She scoffed. This is exactly what Trisha was talking about. What was she talking about? Jess set down her phone. Wine loosened her tongue, and 9 years of marriage told me what was coming wouldn't be good. She's been telling me for months that I need to prioritize myself, that I've been compromising too much. Jess kicked off her shoes. Do you know what she said tonight? She said I'm surrounded by people who take from me without giving back. I sat on the edge of the bed. And you think that's me? Isn't it? I mean, when was the last time you did something spontaneous? Something exciting? You're always just there, being safe and boring and predictable. The words were familiar. She'd said versions of them before, usually after spending time with Trisha. But tonight they had a sharper edge. I'm reliable, I said. I thought that's what partners were supposed to be. Reliable. She laughed. That's just another word for boring. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, exactly. More like clarity. What do you want from me, Jess? Actually want. Not just want me to stop being. I want someone who challenges me, who pushes me to grow. Instead, I feel like I'm dragging you along everywhere I go. Dragging me along? I'm the one who suggested this trip. I'm the one who. You suggested it because Sarah asked you to. You never do anything without someone else initiating it first. She picked up her phone again, thumbs flying. Texting Trisha, probably. Reporting back on the conversation. Are you texting her right now? I asked. While we're talking? She's giving me advice. She's helping me see things clearly. And what does she want you to see? She said I need to eliminate dead weight from my life. People who drag me down instead of lifting me up. Her eyes met mine, clear and cold. And she's right. That includes you. The words hung in the air between us. I waited for her to take them back, to say she didn't mean it, to blame the wine. She didn't. Agreed, I said. What? Agreed. Let's eliminate both of us from each other. Her face went blank. What are you talking about? If I'm dead weight, then this marriage is dead weight for both of us. Let's eliminate it. You're being dramatic again. No, I'm agreeing with you. You want me gone. I'm going. I pulled my overnight bag from the closet and started packing. My hands were steady. That surprised me more than anything. You can't just. We're at a lake house. Where would you even? Sarah's cottage has a guest room. Or I'll get a hotel. But I'm not spending another night in this room with someone who thinks I'm dead weight. Jess oscillated between anger and confusion. Fine. Leave. See if I care. I zipped the bag. I'm sure you won't. I walked out. She didn't follow. Sarah was in the hallway. She'd heard everything. Guest room is ready. I followed her out into the night, carrying my bag. Behind us, I heard Jess's phone ring. Trisha, no doubt, ready to hear all about her crazy husband. Sarah's cottage was 500 yards down the shore. Keith had coffee waiting. Want to talk or want silence? Keith asked. Silence first, then talk. We sat on their dock, the three of us, watching moonlight dance on the water. Eventually, I found words. I told them about the slow erosion of us. The good years at the start, when we'd been partners. Then her friend group expanding while mine shrank. Her contempt becoming visible while my self-worth crumbled. The last 2 years of going through motions, strangers sharing space. My first marriage ended like this, Keith said. Different details, same pattern. I stayed 2 years too long. I have a colleague, Sarah said carefully. Family law attorney. Robert Patterson. I could get you his contact information. By morning. I asked. She pulled out her phone. I'll text him now. At 3 in the morning, my phone buzzed. A text from Jess. Can we talk? This is stupid. I didn't respond. At 4. You're really going to throw away 9 years over one comment? I typed back. It wasn't one comment. It was 9 years of them. I couldn't sleep after that. I walked down to the dock and sat watching the stars reflect on the black water. The night air was cold, but I didn't go back inside. Keith found me there around 4:30. He handed me a blanket without a word and sat beside me. Want to know what I regret most about my first marriage? He asked after a while. What? Not leaving the first time I realized I was shrinking myself to fit her idea of who I should be. I stayed 3 more years after that. 3 years of becoming smaller and smaller until I barely recognized myself. How did you finally leave? One day I was getting dressed and I realized I was choosing my clothes based on whether they'd annoy her. My shirt was too bright. My shoes were too casual. Nothing I picked was right. And I thought, when did I stop dressing for myself? He pulled the blanket tighter. That was the day I knew. You can't live your whole life as an apology. His words hit me like cold water. That's exactly what I've been doing. I know. I've watched it happen. Sarah has too. We've been waiting for you to see it. Why didn't you say something? Would you have hurt us? Or would you have defended her, made excuses, told us we didn't understand? He was right. I would have done exactly that. At 5, sunrise painted the sky pink and gold. Keith went inside to make coffee. When he returned, he had his phone in hand. My attorney friend responded. Robert Patterson. He does family law. He can do a phone consultation this afternoon if you want. That fast. He's good. And he's seen enough cases like yours to know when someone's serious. I took the phone and read the message. Clear. Professional. Available. Yeah, I said. Set it up. You sure about this? He asked. I've never been more sure of anything. Then stick with it. She'll try to pull you back. They always do. Not because they want you, but because they don't want to lose. My phone buzzed. Keith's attorney friend had responded. Available for a call Saturday afternoon. Would that work? I replied yes. Saturday morning, Sarah drove me back to the main house. Jess was waiting in the kitchen, red-eyed but composed. We need to talk, she said. I agree. But not here. The dock? We walked down together, maintaining careful distance. The elderly couple from the next property, the Mortons, were visible on their own dock. Witnesses to whatever came next. I was drunk, Jess began. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? She fumbled for words. She gets in my head. Trisha said what you've been thinking. Maybe for years. That's not fair. What's not fair, I said, my voice steady, is being treated like an inconvenience in my own marriage. I listed examples from just this weekend. The music in the car, the kayaking comments, the 5 hours unaccounted for, each one small by itself. Together, they painted a clear picture. You're twisting everything, she said. I'm seeing clearly for the first time. So what, you're leaving? Just like that? I showed her my phone screen, Keith's attorney contact visible. I'm calling him Monday. Her face went pale. You already found a divorce lawyer? You called me dead weight. What did you think would happen? I don't want a divorce. Do you want this marriage? Actually want it. Not just want to avoid being divorced. She opened her mouth, closed it. The pause said everything. That's what I thought, I said. Sarah appeared on the porch, holding something. A business card. You already called a lawyer? Jess's voice rose. Before we even talked? We've been not talking for years. This just makes it official. The rest of Saturday was a blur of logistics. Phone consultation with Robert Patterson. Jess packing her bags in fury. The sound of her car on gravel as she drove away, heading to Trisha's place in Albany. The phone consultation happened at 2 in the afternoon. I sat in Sarah's cottage office while Keith and Sarah gave me privacy. Mr. Harper, Patterson's voice was calm and professional. Keith Brennan gave me a brief overview. But I'd like to hear from you directly. What's brought you to this decision? I explained. Not dramatically, just factually. The 9 years. The gradual erosion. The deadweight comment. And have you tried marriage counseling? 2 years ago. She stopped going after 3 sessions. Said the therapist was taking my side. I see. And are there children involved? No. Significant shared assets? A house. 2 cars. Standard retirement accounts. Nothing complicated. That's good. It makes things cleaner. He paused. New York requires either a 6-month separation or grounds for fault-based divorce. Given what you've described, I'd recommend pursuing a no-fault divorce based on irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. It's faster and less contentious. How long does it take? With cooperation from both parties? 6 to 12 months from filing. Without cooperation, it can drag on longer. And the cost? He quoted figures that made me wince, but didn't surprise me. Freedom had a price. I'll send you an information packet by email tonight. Look it over. If you want to proceed, we'll schedule an in-person meeting to start the paperwork. Can you come to my office Tuesday morning? Yes. Good. One more thing, Mr. Harper. The fact that you're doing this calmly, rationally, and with forethought, that's going to serve you well. I've seen too many people make this decision in anger and regret it later. You don't strike me as someone who'll have regrets. After I hung up, I sat for a long time staring at the phone. It was real now. Official. No going back. Sarah knocked softly. How did it go? He's sending paperwork. I have an appointment Tuesday. She sat across from me. How do you feel? Sad. Relieved. Terrified. All at once. That sounds about right. Sarah appeared with 2 glasses of bourbon. It's noon somewhere. Sunday morning felt different. I woke in the main house, alone but not lonely. The silence was peaceful for the first time in years. I made coffee, sat on the dock, read without interruption. No sighing from another room, no passive-aggressive comments, no walking on eggshells. My phone buzzed. Jess, can we at least talk about this rationally? We can talk through attorneys. You're being cruel. I'm being clear. The Mortons walked over mid-morning. Saw your wife leave yesterday, Mrs. Morton said gently. Everything all right? No, I admitted. But it will be. Mr. Morton nodded. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is admit the truth. We'll be celebrating 50 years married this August. Want to know the secret? Please. Marrying someone who sees you as essential, not incidental. He squeezed his wife's hand. And remembering that love is a choice. But it should be a choice you want to make, not one you force yourself to make. Their words settled over me like a benediction. I spent the afternoon kayaking alone. Without Jess's criticism, I moved easily through the water. The physical sensation of paddling unencumbered felt like a metaphor I didn't need to examine too closely. I headed back toward the 100 Island area, the same route that had been so difficult with Jess. Today, the current felt manageable. My arms didn't tire. I found a rhythm and stayed with it. I pulled the kayak onto a small island and sat on a flat rock, looking back toward the shore. From here, I could see both Sarah's cottage and the main house. Two different paths. Two different futures. My phone had service, surprisingly. 3 texts waited from Jess. This is insane. You know that, right? Trisha says you're having some kind of crisis. Maybe you should see someone. I'm willing to talk if you stop being childish about this. I read them twice. Felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness. Just a distant observation that these messages sounded exactly like her. Deflecting blame, enlisting her friend as backup, framing my boundary as immaturity. I typed a response. I've already contacted an attorney. This isn't a crisis. It's clarity. Her response came immediately. You're serious. Completely. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me this long. I turned off my phone and sat in the silence. A family of ducks paddled by. Somewhere a loon called. The sun was warm on my face. I stayed on that island for 2 hours, just breathing. When I finally paddled back, my shoulders were tired but in a good way. The kind of tired that comes from doing something for yourself, not from carrying something too heavy. That evening, Sarah and Keith invited me for dinner. Grilled food, easy conversation, the kind of evening I'd forgotten was possible. Keith produced a business card. I scheduled you a proper meeting with Patterson for Tuesday morning. Hope that's okay. More than okay. Thank you. Sarah studied me. How are you doing? Really? Better than I expected. Sadder than I hoped. That's honest. What will you miss? Keith asked. I thought about it. The early years. Who she used to be. Or who I thought she was. What won't you miss? Walking on eggshells. The constant criticism. Feeling like I was always one mistake away from contempt. You're already different, Sarah observed. You're taking up space again. My phone buzzed. Jess, I talked to Trisha. She thinks I should fight for my share of everything. Me? Get a lawyer. Let them figure it out. Sarah smiled. Good. Boundaries. Later, alone in the lake house, I found a voicemail from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I listened. Trisha's voice, sharp and accusing. You're making a huge mistake. Jess is a catch. You'll never do better. This is all your ego because you can't handle a strong woman. When you come crawling back. I deleted it mid-sentence. I understood then. This voice had been in Jess's ear for years, validating her worst impulses, encouraging her contempt. But Jess had chosen to listen. That was the key. She'd chosen Trisha's voice over mine. I texted Sarah, just got a voicemail from Trisha. Sarah, do I need to come over? Me, no. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. I pulled out a notebook and started writing. Not for anyone else, but to process what I was feeling. Dead weight, I wrote. That's what she called me. But weight is relative. To a boat taking on water, even life preservers feel heavy. Maybe I wasn't the anchor. Maybe I was just trying to keep us both afloat while she drilled holes in the hull. Monday morning. Memorial Day. The final day at the lake house. I joined the Mortons on the dock for coffee, our new ritual already feeling comfortable. 50 years this August, I said. Congratulations. Thank you. It hasn't always been easy, but it's always been worth it. Mrs. Morton smiled at her husband. That's how you know it's right. The hard parts are worth it. With Jess, the hard parts had just been hard. I packed up the lake house slowly, methodically. Each item had memories attached, but none that made me want to stay. Sarah and Keith stopped by before heading home. Proud of you, Sarah said. For what? Ending my marriage? For choosing yourself. We exchanged information, confirmed Tuesday's attorney meeting, said our goodbyes. You seem lighter, Sarah said as she hugged me. I eliminated the dead weight, I replied. She understood. So did I, finally. The drive home felt different. My playlist, My pace, my choices. 3 hours of peace. I pulled into our driveway Monday evening. Jess's car wasn't there. She was still at Trisha's, I assumed. The house felt neutral now. Not home, just a building we both happened to own. I found Robert Patterson's business card and studied it. Simple cardstock. Embossed letters. Tangible proof that this was real, happening, no longer theoretical. I placed it on the kitchen table. Not hidden, not aggressive. Just visible. I texted Jess, I'm home. Your things are untouched. Take what you need when you're ready. The attorney's card is on the kitchen table. Her response came immediately. This is really happening. Me, yes. A long pause. Then, I never thought you'd actually leave. I never thought I'd have to. Another pause. Maybe we could. No, we couldn't. I hope you find what you're looking for. I'm looking for me. I think I'm getting close. No response. I didn't need one. I walked through the house that night, really looking at it for the first time in months. Photos on the wall showed us smiling at various events. Her college graduation, our wedding, a trip to California. In every photo, I was looking at her. She was looking at the camera. I took down one photo from our honeymoon. We were on a beach somewhere in Mexico. I remembered that day. I wanted to go snorkeling. She'd wanted to stay at the resort bar. We'd stayed at the bar. We'd always done what she wanted. The photo went into a box. Not thrown away, but not displayed either. Just packed. Neutral. I found a notebook in the kitchen drawer and started making lists. Practical things. What was mine? What was hers? What we'd need to divide. The house would probably have to be sold. Neither of us could afford to buy out the other. My car was mine. Her car was hers. Furniture would be easy enough to split. She could have the expensive stuff she'd picked out. I'd never liked it anyway. Around midnight, I went outside and sat on the front steps. The suburban street was quiet. Houses lit from within, families inside living their lives. Normal people with normal problems. I wondered how many of them were happy. Really happy, not just going through motions. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Andrew? It's Trisha. I should have hung up immediately. Instead, I waited. I just want you to know that you're making a huge mistake. Jess is incredible. She's beautiful, successful, fun. You're never going to find someone like her again. I hope not, I said. Excuse me? I hope I never find someone like her again. Someone who thinks I'm dead weight isn't someone I want to find twice. She didn't mean it like that. She was drunk. And you're taking one comment and blowing it completely out of proportion because your ego can't handle having a strong, independent wife. I almost laughed. Trisha, you don't know me. You don't know our marriage. You know the version Jess tells you, which I'm guessing paints me as some kind of anchor holding her back from greatness. Well, aren't you? No. I'm just someone she stopped respecting years ago, and I'm done accepting that. When you come crawling back. I hung up, blocked the number, felt surprisingly good about it. 6 weeks later, mid-July, I stood in my new apartment. Modest. Quiet. Mine. Moving in had taken 3 days. Sarah and Keith had helped, making multiple trips with my share of belongings from the house. Jess had been there once, when I wasn't, taking what she wanted. We'd communicated entirely through text messages about logistics. The apartment was small. 1 bedroom, galley kitchen, living room barely big enough for a couch. But the windows faced east, so I got morning sun. And it was quiet. No tension hanging in the air. No criticism waiting around every corner. I'd bought new sheets. New towels. Nothing that carried memories of the old life. Starting fresh meant actually starting fresh. My first morning there, I'd made coffee and sat on the small balcony. No one commented on how I made it. No one sighed about the mess. It was just me, coffee, and sunrise. The loneliness hit on day 3. Not the missing her kind, but the adjustment kind. The apartment was too quiet. I'd lived with someone for 9 years. Their absence left space I didn't know how to fill. I called Sarah. Is it normal to feel lonely even when you know you made the right choice? Completely normal. You're grieving. Not for her, exactly, but for the life you thought you'd have. How long does it take? Different for everyone. But it gets easier. I promise. She was right. By the end of the first week, the silence started feeling peaceful instead of empty. I could watch what I wanted on TV, read late into the night, leave dishes in the sink without judgment. Small freedoms. They added up. The calendar showed Tuesday afternoon. Attorney meeting at 2. Separation agreement nearly finalized. Clean break. Fair division, no drama. Sarah called. How you holding up? Good days and hard days. More good than hard now. That's all anyone can ask. I made coffee in my own kitchen, sat at my own table, looked out my own window. The notification came through. Email from Patterson. Final documents ready for review. I opened the attachment. Read through carefully. Everything we discussed, now in legal language. The end of 9 years, reduced to signatures and clauses. I signed electronically, closed the laptop, stood and stretched. Through my window, I watched people walking dogs, living lives, moving forward. I was one of them now. She'd wanted to eliminate dead weight. Turns out we both did. The weight was the marriage itself, the pretending, the performing, the slow suffocation of becoming less to make room for someone else's more. I wasn't dead weight. I was just weight she didn't want to carry. And that was okay, because I didn't want to be carried anymore. I wanted to walk on my own. I grabbed my keys and headed out into the summer afternoon. Life continued. So did I. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.